Link does a lot of walking when trying to save Hyrule, but how many steps does he take? I mean, he traverses all over the map when trying to save the Divine Beasts, claim the Master Sword, and save the Princess, so those steps add up. And I must record those steps. Except I'm not just going to record them. No, I'm gonna find out how many steps he walks, how many he runs, how many meters he climbs, and how long he swims and glides for over the course of his Hyrulean adventure to save a 117-year-old princess. And by the end of this video, I will use all of this information to find out just how many calories Link burns on his journey, because I need to understand how he stays so fit. The main focus, of course, will still be on steps. And to answer the question of steps, I originally planned to count by hand how many steps Link takes, but that fell through when I ran out of fingers to count on. So instead, I wrote up some code to track how many steps Link takes. To answer this, we need to know just how many steps Link takes when walking and when running. And I found that Link can walk 15 steps in 4 seconds, which is 1 step every 0.27 seconds. It was then a simple matter of having a tracker count up every 0.27 seconds I hold the left stick in a direction, thus effectively counting the number of steps Link takes. As for running, his step speed is barely faster at 1 step every 0.25 seconds, but his stride is longer, thus making him faster. I then input this information into the code and added a toggle to record running steps by increasing the counter every 0.25 seconds I hold the run button and the left stick. So with that initial info pumped into the code, I was ready to track Link's steps across Hyrule. But I'm not just going to track them. Why should Link have all of the fun? To fully understand the distance Link travels, I should be walking too. So throughout this video, I will be walking the same number of steps as Link IRL in 24 hours. So let's see how I'm feeling about starting this adventure. I've got my Wind Waker shirt on, and I was going to wear this Majora's Mask, but it smells in that. And it obscures my vision, and I would like to not get hit by a car while I do this. I hope this wasn't a bad idea. It was a bad idea. Do not try this at home. And with that disclaimer out of the way, let's roll the music. Alright, let's get moving. I began my trek where it always begins, the Great Plateau. And as we go through this, feel free to let me know how many steps you think this is gonna take. So on the Great Plateau, we are directed to our first towering tower and our first shiny shrine, all while being insulted by some weird homeless man.
Oh!
Look, just because I'm shirtless does not mean you can call me that. On the plateau, there are 4 shrines that need to be visited in order to progress. Now, the optimal route to hit all of them would be to follow this path, so that I'd hit every shrine, get cold resist clothing, and then return back to the Temple of Time to get the paraglider. That's the optimal route. But here's what I did. I'll be honest, I got a little lost and confused along the way. For some reason, I thought the old man was over here. I don't know, I somehow got my directions mixed up.
East? Well, I thought you said west.
West? What kind of compass are you reading, lad?
But on the bright side, at least I got to do some bokoblin extermination as a treat. But after following a path that would make a speedrunner cry, Link did a total of 4,702 steps in the tutorial. To put that into perspective, that's almost 300 less than 5,000. Or to put it into a better perspective, that's about half the daily recommended number of steps of 10,000. And he did that in just an hour, all while gaining a 4th heart. The same number of hearts as a hagfish. That's a pretty productive hour. I wonder how my walk is doing. So I've completed my trek through the Great Plateau. No additional hearts grown so far, at least none that I'm aware of, so that's a little disappointing. After leaving the plateau, our next stop is Kakariko Village to learn of the Divine Beast's location. So we have to go from here all the way to here. However, there's a problem. When leaving the Great Plateau, Link's not taking steps, he's gliding. But gliding is not stepping. But holding yourself up with your arms clearly burns calories. So I need to make a quick addition to my code by adding a toggle to record how long he glides for to have a more accurate count of calories burned at the end of the video. And with that small addition to the code, we are off to the village, after a quick little detour. Oh yeah, this feels right. The walk itself is pretty normal, with a few stops at some shrines, because we're gonna be needing some spirit orbs to get a lot more hearts to claim the Master Sword later on. But all in all, an uneventful little walk. Except for the tower, because we gotta climb this bad boy, and climbing is not stepping. So to account for this, I need to make it so that my code can record how far Link has climbed with another toggle. To do this, I need to measure how much distance Link climbs per second. And what better measuring tool is there than Link himself? According to Google and other YouTube videos, Link is 5'2", or just under 1.6 meters for you non-Americans. But I wasn't sure how accurate this information was. So I did my own test with the Ridgeland Tower minigame, which tells you how far you glide in a direction, even straight down. And when falling straight down next to the tower, it was found that just under 1.6 meters was traveled to have Link's whole body pass a rung on the tower, making 5'2", or 1.582 meters a sound measurement. Then when climbing, it takes Link 2 seconds to climb his whole body length. So rounding his height up to 1.6 meters and dividing by 2, we get that Link travels 0.8 meters every second, or 0.2 meters every quarter of a second. And that is what I used in my code. And all of the data collected will be used to calculate how many calories are burned at the end of the video. With all that out of the way, we continue on and make it to Impa with a total of 7,539 steps. While Impa lore dumps to Link, let me dump the rest of the rules of this test onto you. The test is complete after freeing each divine beast, claiming the Master Sword, and defeating Ganon. I will not be getting every shrine or every Korok seed because I actually do have a life. And no, I will not be getting every memory, because I don't know where their location is by heart. And you don't need brain memory to save a kingdom anyways, because sword swinging is all muscle memory for Link. Now what I will do is my best to stay on walking paths, except for when needing to get to a shrine or a tower. And speaking of those, fast travel is allowed since it's an actual in-game thing Link has the ability to do. And not just to teleport for player convenience, like it is in most games like Skyrim or Far Cry. And last, no horses. They would trivialize this whole thing, so horses are banned. Looks like Impa's done speaking, so our next stop is the closest divine beast of Varuta in the Zora Domain. The most direct path would be to cross the Lanayru wetlands and enter the winding cliffs containing the path into the domain. Now as Link starts this leg of his journey, let's check in on Past Me and see how he's doing. If I've been looking at my step counter correct, I have made it to Kakariko Village. I'm also doing my best to avoid having any names or identifying locations anywhere in this video because I really don't want that GeoGuessr guy to find my location. Making my way to the first beast, I came to realize something I didn't notice in my other playthroughs, and that's just how many places Nintendo put Zora to point you in the right direction. I mean, there's at least 2 in the ponds on the way, 1 in the nearby tower, and even 1 outside of a shrine. It was pretty cool to see the in-game directions Nintendo provided for players that were following the path. And that direction led straight to the fan-favorite Sidon at just over 9,000 steps. And I'd walk 9,000 more just to see that smile again. After getting lost in his eyes, we walk through the combat gauntlet on the way to the city. And I don't know how, but I must have climbed past most of this because I don't remember a majority of this area from my other playthroughs. Nor do I remember all of the lovely encouragement Sidon gives. After slaughtering a cornucopia of Lizalfo, we eventually make it to the Zora Domain at a total of 11,195 steps. To put that into perspective, that is roughly the same amount of steps that you'd need to take to walk the full length of Central Park 1.5 times. Give or take. And now that we've made it into the city, Link's next goal is to activate Varuta. This portion of the journey will require a lot of swimming. And if you said to yourself that swimming is not stepping, then give yourself a gold star because you'd be right. To account for this, I included in my code a method to track how long Link has been swimming for with the swimming toggle. And if you're wondering, all of the movement data will be revealed at the end of each Divine Beast. Now, in case you're unfamiliar, swimming burns around 400 to 600 calories per hour, according to the internet. So we'll be using 500 calories per hour as our metric that we're gonna use at the end of our adventure. Back with Link, after he acquires the Zora armor, he began his trek to collect the shock arrows. Yeah, I don't know how many calories swimming up a waterfall burns, so I'm gonna chalk that up to Zora magic and consider no calories burned for that. Other than that display of swimming prowess that Michael Phelps dreams of, the climb was a nice, smooth walk gathering arrows. And yes, I did completely avoid the Lionel, because he is not a requirement, and frankly, he scares me. With the arrows in tow, Link takes a leap of faith down to the bottom of the cliffs to begin taking down Vah Ruta at a current total of 13,004 steps. For this next part, I was a little nervous how I was going to record time spent swimming all while avoiding ice projectiles, but it was for nothing since Sidon does all of the swimming for us, finishing the fight with 0 steps. Once aboard the Divine Beast, I made short work of the puzzles, and totally didn't spend way too much time forgetting that I can block this water spout with ice to access a terminal. Nope, that didn't happen. Thanks to the power of editing, you can't prove that that happened, and with said terminals activated, I got to Waterblight Ganon with a healthy 14,571 steps. I made quick work of him with a few extra steps taken, and proceeded to free the spirit of the best girl in Breath of the Wild with a total of 14,743 steps. I'll put on screen the total amount of walking, running, swimming, gliding, and climbing I did to complete the Zora Domain if you want to see it broken down. But there is one more issue that needs to be resolved, and that's the fact that fighting a being of pure malice and technology would burn a few extra calories, right? So I need to calculate how many calories would be burned in a fight with a dark entity. Fortunately, after scouring the internet, I eventually found a state-of-the-art method to simulate this. And it's called Ring Fit Adventures. In this game, you do exercises to fight monsters, and the main baddie is also a being of pure malice while looking like Twitter's dream boyfriend. So to simulate the main fights that Link is going to encounter, I will fight Drago from Ring Fit Adventures at increasingly higher difficulties after I complete the necessary steps IRL. Take it away, me. So I've nearly completed all of my steps for the Lanayru region, and I'm heading back to do the exercise portion. I rested a bit at a McDonald's. I was going to go to the bathroom in there, but then I remembered it is a McDonald's and that would be a terrible decision. So taking a shortcut through the forest, because that's what Link would do. Link would take a shortcut through the forest, except the Link that I'm playing as, he would stay on the path. But I gotta get back to do the exercise. Okay, now should I wear the mask while I do? No, I will suffocate. Also, that smells. Alright, we'll set the difficulty to 1 and then increase it each fight up to the max. First course. Super easy. Not gonna be a problem. Okay, don't hit the mic with the ring. Oh my god, doing this right after walking was a terrible idea. Alright, burned 10 calories before fighting the Scaly. What is he sitting on? What the heck is that? Oh my god, this is so easy on the easiest difficulty. Who would have guessed the easy difficulty is easy? Do you think some people get off to this? You know, there's gonna be some people that'll see this video and they'll be like, you're not doing it right. Your form is awful. Fix your form. There's gonna be those people. I know there's gonna be those people. Easy difficulty, easy. We leveled up with like 20.5 calories. Okay, with one Divine Beast down, the next closest is Vah Rudania in Death Mountain, which houses the living dumplings, the Gorons. To get there, Link will need to travel to the Sokofi Shrine, cross the path to the north, and survive the fiery air of the mountain to reach Goron City. And to do that, I need to get some fire resist elixirs. And unfortunately, I have been so focused on my destinations, I forgot all about the journey itself, and I have barely collected anything to sell, making me dead broke. Fortunately, near the Taumalu Shrine are a ton of rocks to mine for gems that I can then sell to Beetle at the nearby stable, getting me just enough rupees to afford 3 elixirs. Chugging one down, I then began the walk through the valley at just over 16,705 steps. Along the way, I made sure to gather a few of these cute little fireproof lizards, as I'd be needing them to collect a piece of fireproof armor later on. I also came across a traveling Hyrulean who I would have loved to see where he was going, because if he doesn't have a fire resist elixir, he's in for a bad time. But he was going at too slow a pace for me, so I left him behind to eat my dust. Now the thing about the path to Goron City is that it's long and full of tougher fights, so it took me a bit of time to get there. And on top of all that, I had to take a detour to access a shrine surrounded by lava. On the positive side, I did make it to the guy who will trade 10 lizards for some fireproof armor, with just enough lizards stuffed down my pants. And along the way, I also gathered enough gems to afford a second piece of armor in Goron City, with less than 1 minute to spare. I was cutting it pretty close there. But I made it, and I started the Varudanya quest with 19,565 steps taken in total. I wonder how Past Me is feeling walking through Death Mountain right now. To simulate Death Mountain, I have put on a really heavy jacket, and before starting this, I chugged a giant glass of sweet tea to stay hydrated. You may be saying that I should have drank water, but to that I say water tastes awful. You may say that it doesn't have a taste, but it does, and it tastes like sadness. The next objective is to get Yonobo and I close enough to the Divine Beast to force it to calm down by violently launching my boy at it. And thus, we began my least favorite lead up to a Divine Beast. Because along the way, the Divine Beast spawns these buzzing little jerks that you just can't be spotted by. And I suck at taking them out when you need to drop bombs on them. There's probably another way of doing this, but I refuse to learn. This is the only way for me to live out my dream of being a World War II bomber on the European front, and I will not give that up. But after an annoying amount of gliding and walking, I eventually made it to the Divine Beast itself at 24,060 steps taken. Inside the beast, I actually had an easier time solving all the puzzles again. But it seems Rudanya takes a few extra steps than Ruta to finish, as I took an additional 16,055 steps to get to the fight with Fire Blight Ganon. The fight itself, though, was pretty easy with arrows, and I took him down without a sweat. Okay, well, if you want to be semantic about it, Link was probably sweating, but that's going to be due to the heat and has nothing to do with the difficulty of the fight, so... Anyways, with Fire Blight Ganon vanquished, Link has now conquered 2 of the 4 Divine Beasts, just shy of 26,000 steps, at 25,948 steps. To put that into perspective, that's on the higher end of the amount of steps you'd walk if you were visiting Disneyland. But you'd have to be one of those hardcore visitors. You know, the ones that plan out all the fast passes and which rides they're gonna visit in a given day. And now that Link has conquered another challenge, that means it's my turn for another fight. I am very glad that this segment is almost finished. I'm heading back to do the exercise part. The jacket was a bad idea. Just call me Brendan Lee Mulligan, because there is a river of sweat going down my back. Alright, second battle. Let's go. This is the hardest part, because I have to use my legs again. Okay, made it to Drago, 36 calories, okay. Just about 1/4 of the way there. We're fine. Oh look, I get to go again. It's easy, it knows I'm doing a challenge. It knows what I'm going through, and it's like, you know what, we'll give you another turn. Very nice of you. Oh, this does so much damage. Well, I wish I could just reuse that over and over again. Oh, yes, he's stunned. He fell off his balls. He no longer has a blue ball. Oh, God. Feel free to play along while you watch. Just go buy a Switch in this game and everything. Okay, so in the second battle, with a little bit less than 51 calories total. Next on the list is Rito Village, home of Va Meadow. I had 2 options for this part of the trek. Either I go back to the Great Plateau and walk from there, or teleport back to the Sokofi Shrine and walk through Central Hyrule. Considering I need way more Spirit Orbs to get enough hearts to claim the Master Sword later on, I chose the latter. This also served as a chance to activate the Woodland Tower, as I could teleport back to it later when I was ready to claim the Master Sword. Now, I'd love to talk about all of the really cool stuff I did and all the stuff I learned on this really long walk. But other than the occasional Guardian attack, it was completely uneventful and really boring. I mean, look at this path. It's a lot of walking. Breath of the Wild is all about adventuring and exploring, and I'm just beelining it to the next objective. It kind of takes all the fun out of it. But after doing all of that walking, I eventually reached 34,000 steps, and I encountered the cold, and my heart sank. It turns out that my warm doublet was not enough to keep me warm. Was I going to have to walk around looking for something else to keep me warm? Or find warm foods? Fortunately not, because I ran into a fire Wizro on the way and nabbed his wand near the east of Central Hyrule. I bet anyone thinking that it was dumb of me to start from the east instead of the Great Plateau are feeling pretty silly right about now. With my buns nice and toasty, I kept on walking, eventually making it to the Rito Village just below 36,000 steps. Making it to this new milestone, let's see how Past Me is doing making it this far. Before starting the next part, I took a break, made some peanut butter cookies, ate a couple of those, energy, and then I started on the long trek, and I should be just now getting enough steps to have made it to Rito Village last I looked, so I'm making it. I really should have gotten new shoes before I did this. I think the back of mine and the bottom of them, I think the back of the shoe is falling apart and digging into my heel. Also got a blister. Yeah, I didn't prepare enough for this. Although Link doesn't need new shoes, so, realistic. After Link talks to the village leader and remembers being part of the Rebel Alliance.
All Links report in.
Red 5 standing by.
He begins my favorite lead-up to a Divine Beast, because it's the easiest and the quickest. But before that, let me knock out the local shrine real quick. Oh no, I spent 600 steps on this gosh darn puzzle. Way more than any other shrine before it, and the game wouldn't even let me use a Korok leaf to solve it. So I had to refigure out this puzzle legit. It's been a long time since I've done this puzzle, I don't remember the answer. How dare you make me use my brain, Nintendo? You know that it hurts my head when I do that, right? Okay, with that out of the way, I met with Diet Rivali, showed off my sick bow and arrow skills, and then attacked the Divine Beast. Surprising nobody, this part involved a lot more time gliding than it did walking. And once aboard the Divine Beast, I completed all of the puzzles in less than 1,000 steps. Like I said, this is the easiest segment. And being the easiest means that Windblight Ganon is a pushover. I make quick work of him with about 300 extra steps, leading to our new total of 38,459 steps, and us getting Rivali's Gale. To put this number of steps into perspective, that's the same amount that you'd take if you walked the full length of Manhattan 1.5 times. Unsurprisingly, the walk to the Divine Beast is where a majority of these steps came from, totaling at almost 11,000, while the Divine Beast portion only totaled around 1,500 steps. And all of those extra steps means it's my turn to get a new step total of 38,500 and fight a boss. I am now approaching the number of steps needed to start the next exercise portion, so I'm heading back. Oh god, I am not looking forward to doing that again. But I am looking forward to taking off these shoes. They are falling apart. I think I have a second pair. Oh no, those ones also are falling apart. I need to buy new shoes. I'm realizing I'm cutting it pretty close. It's already past 3, and I've only now started the battle for the third Divine Beast. And I'm only getting more tired, so I may need to pick up the pace for the next Divine Beast. I am tired. Just gotta make it back to Drago. Okay, this is the hardest part. It's all uphill from here. Downhill from here, downhill is bad, but I don't want to be going uphill. Uphill hurts. Okay, Drago. I have changed my loadout to all arm exercises, except a few abdominal ones, because I am not doing any more squats than I have to. How many people do you think have played this game? Like, what percentage of Switch owners own this game? And what percentage of Switch owners own this game and then played it for like a week after New Year's and then never touched it again? They were like, this is my New Year's resolution. I'm gonna get in shape with Nintendo. And then just like every other resolution, they gave up. Okay, so for the third fight, we end with 83 calories in total. So far, Link has managed to save an elephant, a flaming salamander, and a chicken. That leaves us with the journey to Gerudo Town to tame Va Naboris, the camel. For this portion, I did teleport back to the Great Plateau, as I already had enough spirit orbs, and already had an ice weapon for the desert, so there was no more need to explore. This walk would take me through the Gerudo Canyon until I reached the town. However, somehow I did get lost, and I spent a lot of time around here. I don't know how I did that, but I did. But after about 3,000 more steps, I finally made it to the town, and I got rejected from entering for sexist reasons and was forced to become a femboy just to continue. But surely I can keep the Majora's Mask on, right? Oh, come on, this thing covers more than the required veil. How can you tell I'm a Vo? This is BS making me take off my cool mask for this lame veil. But after being treated horribly by the Gerudo equivalent of the TSA, I finally managed to make it to Lady Riju at a total of 41,784 steps. Now let's see how I'm doing. So I knocked out the Divine Beast fight, and I left immediately after to try to knock out the next one, the final of the 4. That was a mistake, so I'm heading back to rest. my calves are burning. So I'm gonna head back to the apartment and just rest a little bit more before I finish this segment. Now that I'm inside the town and have met the princess, I need to collect the Thunder Helm, and that means a whole lot more sand walking. After spending 2,000 steps getting to the Yiga hideout and totally making it through all stealthy-like. Oh, come on, I made it through the door. I eventually retrieved the helmet after dropping Master Koga down a pit, a la Darth Maul style, and started the Divine Beast fight at 44,587 steps. And fun fact, this is actually how you tame wild camels in real life. Once aboard, I spent nearly 2,000 steps just solving the Divine Beast. I just kept forgetting where to go. Who knew that camels were this complex inside with spinning walls and circuitry? But after activating all of the terminals, it was time to fight Thunder Blight Ganon. And I really suck at this fight. Stop making me drop my weapon. Just stand still. Oh, come on. First try, not even difficult. And with the final Divine Beast conquered, the total step count comes out to 46,867 steps, which in real life would equal around 21 to 22 miles on average, which is the equivalent of walking from the Bronx Zoo all the way to Coney Island. I don't know why I keep making references to New York City, it just keeps happening. Now it's about time that we check in on how my journey through Hyrule is going. But first, there's 2 more things I need to collect. Oh yeah, now we're looking good. I am feeling much better now that the sun is a little bit more down. But my shoes are definitely falling apart, and I did check my other pair. They are also broken. I've got a couple of blisters, but I'm about to finish the 4th Divine Beast, so, you know, the hardest part's behind us. Come on, people, pick up your trash. Ugh. Come on. I've got a backpack on, I'll put it in there. Do you see trash when you're out walking? Just pick it up. Assuming it's not like a needle. But, you know, within reason, you know, maybe if you see trash, just pick it up, even if it isn't yours. Helps the environment. Link would pick up trash when he's walking, so you should pick up trash too. Okay, moving the difficulty up to 15. You know, I'm getting real tired of just doing this over and over again. But whatever. Okay, made it to Drago. 92 calories total. That is barely any damage now. Okay, 100 calories. Oh my god, this is actually getting tough. 110 calories burned, and he's still got a third of the way to go for just this fight. Okay, and we beat the fight at 115 calories total. With all of the Divine Beasts now tamed, it is time to venture forth into the Lost Woods to claim the Master Sword. The plan is to teleport to the nearby tower here, and then walk through the Lost Woods to the Great Deku Tree to claim the sword located here. Between me and the Master Sword is the Lost Woods puzzle, which I have literally no recollection about, but how hard can it be? Okay, no. Nope. Okay, not this way. Oh, come on! I will burn this whole forest to the ground if you don't let me through. Oh, the embers mark the way. Easy peasy. And with that, we are fully prepared to face Ganon with a total of 48,674 steps. All that stands between Link and his final step count, and saving the princess, is the final gauntlet of Hyrule Castle. No, none of that. We are not doing that. Quick, cut to me walking before it makes me do the DLC.
Okay, you're probably seeing this after I have done the exercise for the camel divine beast. I'm too tired to remember its name right now. But I'm on my way back to do that, so this is probably out of order. But I'm about to reach the step count for me getting to the Master Sword, so recording this just for posterity. When I get back, gonna do that exercise, take another break, and then finish out the steps, and then do my exercise for Ganon, and finish this whole thing out. Oh, and look, I found more trash. Why is it so hard for people to just not drop, what is it, a Pop-Tart wrapper on the ground? Come on.
Making my way to Hyrule Castle, I realized that I have two options. Either I can use the waterfalls to make short work of the trek to the final battle, or I can walk the spiral path up to the top of the castle. And after all of the walking in-game and in real life, all of the steps and calories burned, it would be a disservice not finishing this out by taking the final steps to victory. This winding road will be the final test of all I have endured. It will be the path that will test my combat, my resolve, and my endurance. After facing the storms of Lanayru, the blazing heat of Death Mountain, the tundra of Hebra, and the harsh deserts of Gerudo, my body is ready. I will take these final steps in-game and in real life with pride and purpose as I ascend to face Malice incarnate. With these last few meters, I will be one step closer to answering my ultimate question. How many steps does it take to save Hyrule? And Ganon will not stand in my way. Let's do this. While Ganon was motionless in his cocoon, Link and I were out there exercising and growing stronger with every step. We honed our bodies to face the darkness. While Ganon was lounging, I was gaining strength. I took the road all around Hyrule, and in the end, it made all of the difference. Ganon, you may have untold strength of Malice, but Link and I have strength of our bodies after traveling all over Hyrule, and because of that journey, you don't stand a chance. With Calamity Ganon defeated, the rest of the game is gonna be a walk in the park, because Dark Beast Ganon is really not that much of a fight. Wait, where did this horse come from? I said no horses and I meant it. We're doing this all on foot, to the very last shot. And with Dark Beast Ganon defeated, we end our step count at 52,805 steps. With Link's journey completed, it's time to find out if I reached the same number of steps in one day.
It may be almost 11 p.m. I may have multiple blisters on my feet, and I may need to get new shoes, but I have reached the step count. So I am almost back home, and then I have to do more exercise. Dang it.
Aw, dang it, I didn't put the Wind Waker shirt back on when I took it off for a break. Now the video's gonna look weird. Whatever. I'll fix it when I get home. Back in the Wind Waker shirt for the final battle. Got Tangerine for energy. We just gotta do the final fight, and we're done. And then I'm going to bed. Increase the difficulty to 20. I honestly thought 20 was the highest difficulty. I don't think I would survive if we went to, what is the max? To 30. So we're going with the original plan of going with what I thought was the max, which is 20. This is the last time I have to do all these squats just to get to the fight. Already hurting. Not a good sign. Okay, starting the final fight. 125 calories burned from just fighting. Remember, channel your inner Link. Seriously, how much fan art do you think there is of this guy? I'm too afraid to Google it. Oh, my thing's falling apart. No, don't take a screenshot. Everything's falling apart. Everything's falling apart except for my will to win. Just fall down, you big, beefy dragon. Yeah, I hit my light. And with that, for 162 calories from just fighting. Take it away, future me. To put this final number of steps into perspective, that's around the same number of steps that you would use in a marathon. I walked the length of a marathon, y'all. I didn't know it was equivalent to that when I started the challenge. Now you might be saying, actually, you're a little short from reaching the distance of a marathon. But actually, the pedometer on my phone doesn't include the distance walk during the Ring Fit portion of my adventure. But combined, I walked the distance of a marathon. So to prevent all of this effort from going to waste, please like, subscribe, and comment good job down below. But for real, I didn't think I was going to be able to do all of those steps between me getting some blisters and even my shoes falling apart. But I did it, and I burned over 1,700 calories from walking alone, and almost 1,900 calories in total. Ray from the future here, I actually did more than 1,900, I just messed up my math. But that's not even all of the data that we collected. We still gotta find out how many calories Link burned. In total, Link did 40,583 steps of walking, 12,222 steps of running, 932.8 meters of climbing, 675.3 seconds of swimming, and 1,874.5 seconds of gliding. Now I could just throw all this information into a calculator and be done with it, but there's one more thing that needs to be determined for an accurate number of calories burned. We need to figure out how fast Link walks and runs. So let me figure that out real quick. I'm back, and I figured out Link's running and walking speeds using our good friends the Ridgeland Tower minigame, triangles, and math. If you just want to know his running and walking speeds, jump to this time right now. But for y'all that are nerds like me, let me explain my process. You see, flying off of this tower in a direction makes a pretty good right triangle. And making this right triangle, I found that the tower's height is around 70 meters, and the hypotenuse flown is about 241 meters. And then using a squared plus b squared equals c squared, we find that the length of the triangle is 230.6 meters. So then I just need to time how long it takes Link to run and walk that distance. Except it's not going to be that simple. Some of the parts are covered in water, and part of my flying path was off of the cliff before I made a right angle with the tower. So our actual walking distance is this bit. To find that length, we're gonna have to make a smaller right triangle like this. And while flying, I recorded that the distance flown over our walking path was 124 meters, so that is gonna be our hypotenuse. Then looking back at the original triangle, we can use this equation to find that this angle is 16.885 degrees. And due to how our triangles work out, that makes this angle also 16.885 degrees. And then lastly, we simply have to use this final equation to find that the length of the walking path is 118.65 meters, which took Link 22 seconds to walk and 14 seconds to run, making his walking speed 5.4 meters per second and his running speed 8.2 meters per second, or 12.1 miles per hour and 18.3 miles per hour respectively for us Americans. And with all of that out of the way, I can now plug all of the data that we've collected into a calories burned calculator and find that Link burned 4,356 calories from walking and running at least. He probably burned even more than that, but I couldn't find any calculator that expected somebody to be running faster than the average speed of the fastest marathon runner for multiple hours like Link is. And then on top of that, he burned an additional 94 calories from swimming, 219 calories from gliding, and 162 calories from climbing. I already explained that we're using 500 calories per hour of swimming earlier on in the video, but for gliding, I equated it to doing pull-ups, which burns between 4 and 10 calories per minute, so I used the midpoint of 7 calories burned per minute of gliding. As for climbing, it turns out I wasted a lot of time figuring out how far Link climbs, since it turns out for rock climbing, they measure the amount of calories burned based off of how long you climb for, instead of the amount of distance you've climbed. So I then converted all of the information I gathered back into time spent climbing, and found that rock climbing burns between 400 and 600 calories per hour, so 500 calories per hour is a good midpoint. And using that is how I found that Link burned 162 calories from climbing alone. So in total, Link burned 4,993 calories, when also taking into account the 162 calories that Link burned when fighting the bosses. But let's round that up to a nice 5,000 calories burned, since I couldn't get his running and walking numbers exactly right. That's equal to 104 Chicken McNuggets or 13 Starbucks chocolate smoothies, or 4% of a human body. So with all of that information collected and my own hero's journey completed, I want to use the end of this video to address Nintendo directly. Mr. Shigeru Miyamoto, look at all I have accomplished in this video. Look at how much dedication I put into this. And look at how much I embody Link. Consider this, and please, give me a part in the upcoming Zelda movie. Now, I know you've probably already casted Jack Black as Link and Chris Pratt as Zelda, but I'll take anything. You can give me the Running Man or the Postman for all I care. Just please let me be in the film. And if you're watching this and you're not an employee at Nintendo, please like, comment, and subscribe so there's a bigger chance of someone from there seeing this. Nailed that transition. Oh, also, comment any other games you want me to look into or any other games you want me to walk in. And as always, I hope you enjoyed the video and stay awesome, y'all.